Psychologists have long tried to understand one of the mysteries: why do some people become heartless serial killers? While serial murder is not formalized by any legal code, the crimes of serial killers have often been seized on by the media and the public consciousness. Especially in cases where there are many victims and the murders are carried out in gruesome fashion. Here are 10 of the most gruesome serial murder cases ever happened. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was an American serial killer who operated from 1978 to 1991. He was later convicted of murdering 17 young men and boys. He is known to have raped, murdered and dismembered his victims. He is also known to have indulged in necrophilia, cannibalism, and the permanent preservation of body parts. Dahmer killed his first victim in the summer of 1978 when he was only 18 years old. He picked up a teenage hitchhiker named Stephen Mark Hicks, took him to his house and strangled him to death. As his obsession with human internal organs deepened, he began to keep his victims' body parts as trophies. When police found 3 heads and body parts in the fridge, he admitted to cooking and eating the victims. He was arrested on July 22, 1991, after his would-be victim managed to escape from him and ran desperately down the road. During his trial, Dahmer admitted that he tried to turn his victims into mindless zombies and sex slaves. He first tried sleeping pills. He then drilled holes into their skulls while they were still alive and poured boiling water and acid into their brains. Although Dahmer would likely have been executed for his crimes, he was attacked by a fellow inmate at the Columbia Correctional Institution. He was beaten to death with a metal rod on the morning of November 28, 1994. Ahmad Suraji was an Indonesian serial killer known as the Sorcerer. He allegedly murdered 42 girls and women between 1986 and 1997. The most disturbing aspect was his motive and method of killing his victims. He claimed that in a dream his late father informed him that drinking the saliva of 70 dead young women would make him a mystical healer. Because it would take too long to find 70 women who died young, he began murdering young women between the ages of 11 and 30. He claimed to be a shaman and many women came to him, seeking wealth and beauty. After receiving payment, he took them to a sugarcane field and buried them at the waist, claiming it was part of a ritual. Then he strangled them and drank their saliva. He then buried the decomposing body with the head facing his house, which he claimed would give him more power. He was sentenced to death by firing squad on July 10, 2008. Tsutomu Miyazaki was born prematurely, resulting in hand deformities. As a result, he was bullied at school and his grades began to drop. He developed an inferiority complex and found it difficult to communicate. His mind became so complicated that he started kidnapping and murdering young girls in 1988 to 1989. He was known as the Little Girl Murderer and the Human Dracula. On August 22, 1988, he kidnapped a 4-year-old girl named Mari Kano. He strangled her to death and molested her body, then left her body to rot before returning to remove some of the body parts. In addition to sadistic violence, Miyazaki also seemed to enjoy traumatizing and scaring the families of his victims. He began making silent phone calls, then sent the girls' shattered bones, teeth and pictures to the family in a postcard, containing chilling messages such as Mari cremated, bones investigate, prove. All 4 of his victims were between the ages of 4 and 7. After strangling them, he developed necrophilia. He also drank the blood of one of his victims and ate part of her hand. Miyazaki was later caught attempting to molest a girl in a park. Even after being a prisoner, he seemed calm and collected. Miyazaki was executed by hanging on June 17, 2008. Edward Theodore Gain was a murderer and body snatcher, also known as the Butcher of Plainfield or the Plainfield Ghoul. He confessed to killing Mary Hogan in 1954 and Bernice Worden in 1957. He was also found to have dug up corpses from local cemeteries to make bone and skin artifacts. When the police arrived at his house, they found Wharton's dismembered body hanging upside down by her legs. All her internal organs were removed. There were also many human bones, bowls made from human skulls, masks made from scalps, nails, etc. He was found mentally unstable and sent to a mental asylum, where he died of cancer on July 26, 1984. Theodore Robert Bundy was an American serial killer, rapist, and burglar who assaulted and murdered more than 30 young women and girls between 1974 and 1978. He lured the victim into his car by feigns injury or pretends to be a firefighter or police officer. He held a crowbar under the car seat and immediately struck the victims the moment they approached the car. He also used his charm to get women to trust him. He would take them to a secluded spot, overpower and kill them. Sometimes he would visit the corpse several hours later to have sex with the dead. He applied makeup on these corpses before having sex with them. He decapitated at least 12 victims and kept the severed heads as trophies in his apartment. At the time of the trial, he was a celebrity for his good looks, charm, and intelligence. He fought for years to avoid the death penalty. However, he did not escape justice forever and was executed in the electric chair on January 24, 1989. His last words were, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." Ukrainian serial killer Andrei Chikatilo was truly one of the most despicable and menacing men to ever walk on earth. Born in 1933, he was called the Butcher of Rostov, the Red Ripper, and the Rostov Ripper. He killed more than 50 women and children between 1978 and 1990 when he was finally caught. First, he lured a 9-year-old girl into the woods and tried to rape her. When she struggled, he cut her throat. He achieved sexual satisfaction by watching a dying girl beg, and from then on he could only achieve an erection by violently killing women and children who begged for their lives. He mostly courted vagrant prostitutes, but also kidnapped little girls whenever he could. He was imprisoned in 1990 and prosecuted in 1992. During the trial, he was ironically kept in a cage in the middle of the courtroom. The grieving family members of the victims were out for his blood and would have lynched him if the cage hadn't protected him. Although he confessed to a total of 56 brutal murders, he was convicted of 53. In February 1994, he was sent to be executed by firing squad and was killed by a single bullet to the back of the head. When a serial killer is referred to as the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Gray Man, and the Bouquet Man, it is almost certain that he is completely deranged. Fish was tried and found guilty of raping, killing, and cannibalizing 3 children in the beginning of the 20th century. However, he claimed to have murdered more than 100 children and even boasted that he had children in every state. What particularly shocking is that Fish sent a letter to the mother of one of his victims, 10-year-old Grace Budd, describing how he lured the little girl, strangled her, and then dismembered her to eat over the course of 9 days. Joachim Kroll, born in 1933, was a serial killer and cannibal from Germany who killed and ate at least 14 people, including small children, between 1955 and 1976. After strangling his victims with his bare hands, Kroll had sex with their bodies and then cut them up in pieces to eat. He was finally caught in 1976 when desperate police officers went door to door and an angry neighbor complained to them about pipes stuck in the building. A person sent to investigate found out that the pipes were clogged with human remains. When Kroll was arrested, he was in the process of embalming body parts taken from his last victim, 4-year-old Marion Ketter. Kroll claimed he cut meat from his victims and cooked them to save on food bills. He thought he would be cured of his cannibalistic urges and then released. Instead, he was sentenced to 9 life sentences. But he died of a heart attack in 1991. Gilles de Rais is a man who can be called the father of serial murder. Gilles de Rais was a rich knight and gentleman, leader of the French army and companion of Joan of Arc. Gilles de Rais, born in 1404, sodomized, tortured and killed around 140 children during his bloody exile in the 15th century. In 1437, many naked bodies of young boys were found on his estate. He was attracted to blonde boys with blue eyes. He promised them sweets and treats and lured them to his castle. He then tortured and mutilated them in the most inhuman way possible and ejaculated on the dying children. His greatest joy was bathing in their blood. He wanted to put them in his jugular vein and enjoy the spurt of blood. After the deed, he repented greatly and begged himself and prayed for hours in the family chapel. His servants were left to burn the bodies in the hearth and clean the blood-soaked room. Jack the Ripper was an experienced and strategic serial killer who was able to hide his identity even from the famous Scotland Yard police force. Jack the Ripper was active in the Whitechapel area of London in 1888, which is why he is sometimes referred to as the Whitechapel murderer. What made the murders so brutal was that Jack the Ripper mutilated the bodies in grotesque ways. The killer cut the throats and stomachs of at least 5 prostitutes and left them for dead. Sometimes he even removed the woman's womb and took it as a kind of souvenir. The murder of Mary Jane Kelly was the most barbaric of his deeds. Her body was mutilated beyond recognition with her face hacked away. Her intestines were removed and placed beneath her head. Her breasts was cut out and her heart was also missing from the crime scene. The police suspect that the killer was a surgeon, butcher, or some expert with a scalpel. The killer taunts the public and the police by sending letters describing his actions. Although over 100 possible suspects have been proposed, the killer has not been identified for centuries. At the beginning of this year, 2 British researchers published in the Journal of Forensic Science the results of a forensic DNA test, which showed that the real Jack the Ripper was Aaron Kozminski, a 23-year-old Polish barber. So, out of all of them, which case did you think was the most gruesome? Leave your answer in the comments below.